you think this would even pass in the House if it went to the floor for a vote?
But I think it can pass. Now, look, I don't think the Senate would take it up, but that's on them, not us. We have an obligation to do our jobs, and part of that is to honor the former president.
Ever since they took the majority in 2023, House Republicans have made this the least productive Congress in modern American history. But now they're finally motivated to pass legislation. Republicans have proposed a bill that would rename a Washington, D.C. airport after their cult leader, Donald Trump. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. Greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, it really is as dumb as it sounds. As we talked about before, this is the least productive iteration of Congress since the Great Depression, thanks to House Republicans who took the majority in the House of Representatives back in 2023. But before I play you some clips of a really disturbing interview in which one of this bill's co-sponsors tries to justify the bill, certainly in this context, I want to remind you of what the ostensible leader of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, what he told the Fox Propaganda Network are his priorities and what he wants to assure the American people during this election year.
New coalition. Now, Speaker, what is your role? You're piloting the House. You're the North Star. I know it's a thin deck, but nonetheless, you have the political gavel and the political platform. How do you want to play this?
Well, listen, I think that we've got to demonstrate that we can govern. I think we hold fast to our core principles, the things that made America the greatest, most powerful, most extraordinary, most benevolent nation in the history of the world.
So he wants to persuade the American people. He wants to convey to them that they can responsibly govern in an election year. And this, instead, is how they're demonstrating that. Guy Reschenthaler, a Republican, by the way, who is on the Oversight Committee to try to impeach President Biden, Reschenthaler introduces bill to rename the Washington Dulles International Airport as the Donald J. Trump International Airport. He says, in my lifetime, our nation has never been greater than under the leadership of President Donald J. Trump. As millions of domestic and international travelers fly through the airport, there's no better symbol of freedom, prosperity, and strength than hearing, welcome to the Trump International Airport, as they land on American soil. And he's joined by like 6 other Republican co-sponsors. Folks, again, as a reminder to really put a fine point on it, again, the least productive iteration of Congress. Look at this graph. We've shown this graph before. This is unprecedented, even for Congress under divided government. That's how stupid and dysfunctional these Republicans are. As a guy on Twitter points out, he says, the first year of the 118th Congress, 2023, was the least productive in modern American history. 221 Republicans in the House earned more than $38 million in taxpayer money to do little but investigate the Biden family. Remember, that's their main political initiative. That's what they've been focusing all their political capital on, is trying to impeach President Biden. Now they want to rename a damn airport after their cult leader. This is Andy Ogles, one of the bill's co-sponsors. He's on, I believe it's Newsmax, and he's talking about this particular bill and this particular priority.
Bills stand a chance of passing?
Well, it's one of those, you always swing for the fences, you never stop fighting. But look, Donald Trump was a transformative president. The country was in a better place when he was president of the United States. The economy was better, the borders were more secure, and the world was safer. So it's time that we recognize that fact, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. We were all better off under Donald Trump versus under this so-called Bidenomics.
Yeah, Republicans are having a tough time in the House. Gallagher, Buck, McCarthy, Santos, all gone. So you don't really have. You've got a 1-vote margin.
That's
do you
right.
think this would even pass in the House if it went to the floor for a vote?
Well, there's one way to find out. Let's put it out there, baby, and let's go. I mean, you don't fight, you don't stop fighting because the odds are tough. But I think it can pass. Now, look, I don't think the Senate would take it up, but that's on them, not us. We have an obligation to do our jobs, and part of that is to honor the former president and to set the stage. We've got to win the House, the Senate, and the White House in the 2024 elections, and that means we've got to get Donald Trump elected. And so
part of our job is to honor the former president. Guys, it's a cult. It's such a cult. It's so creepy. This is, we could play the rest of the clip, but instead I want to go to this one, a follow-up from the Newsmax hosts who ask a pretty fair and obvious question given the absurdity of this bill and the absurdity of that response by Andy Ogles.
So how do you respond to the critics who are saying the Republicans just aren't serious enough?
Well, again, they criticize us for good policy. You know, we had House Bill 1, which was the best immigration bill, the most conservative immigration bill that's been passed by Congress, and the Democrats didn't do a darn thing.
They criticize us for good policy. You mean like legislation to rename an airport after your cult leader because you think that's an essential part of your job? Guys, I don't even know what to say about this. I really don't. It is a cult. This deserves nothing but your contempt and disdain. This is where they're assigning political capital and attention and energy during an election year, trying to rename an airport after a failed president that won't pass the Senate. It won't become law. Why would you even waste your time? Why would you pitch this? I read on the Fox Propaganda Network, they're like, oh, it triggered the libs. It doesn't trigger us. I think it's funny. It's funny to make fun of you all for it. You Republicans that think that this is your priority during an election year when you have a one-seat majority. I mean, even the Newsmax hosts, who I'm sure are quite Trump sycophantic, even they seem kind of perplexed by why do this? It's probably not going to pass the House. If it passes the House, it won't pass the Senate. If by some miracle you had senators willing to pass it, President Biden would veto it, and then his campaign would make hay about it. Why are you doing this? This might actually help cost you. This might help drive further Republicans, the more moderate ones, such that they exist, away. This is the sort of thing that would turn off a Mike Gallagher if he wasn't already resigning. Jerry Connolly, a Democrat in the House of Representatives, he had a funny comment. He says, Donald Trump is facing 91 felony charges. If Republicans want to name something after him, I suggest they find a federal prison. That's funny. That's not you being triggered. You're making fun of Republicans for their stupidity, their dysfunction, their incompetence, their terrible priorities, their refusal to do anything productive for the benefit, let alone of the country, even their own constituents, their own voters, even selfishly, right? And to be quite candid, President Biden, Democrats, the Biden campaign, everybody should be making hay of this. They should be pointing out, hey, voter who is upset with Congress which has an approval rating in the low double digits. This is what your Republican Congress people are focused on while President Biden is trying to deliver results for the American people. I'll also point out, obviously, the stuff that Andy Ogles was talking about, particularly with respect to the economy. It's a lie. President Biden's economy is just objectively better than Donald Trump's, to say nothing of the fact that Trump inherited a pretty good economy from Obama. So again, nobody should give him full credit for the economy that he had when it was good, since it wasn't all him. And by the way, the economy went in the toilet on his watch in 2020. Like Ogles said it himself. I think we were better off 4 years ago. 4 years ago was 2020 when Donald Trump was president, and 2020 was terrible. The lies they tell themselves, the lies they tell their voters, the lies they tell their viewers. Folks, this is insane. It really is. But just wanted to share that with you, that is right now the Republican Party's priority: rename an airport after Donald Trump in an election year. Let me know what you think in the comments.